So SCCM client is one of the critical thing in SCCM. Without SCCM client, you cannot achieve anything. Okay, the basic thing, if you want SCCM, if you want to install anything, you need to have an SCCM client. Is it clear what I'm saying to you? So if you consider overview of SCCM client, it is divided into three areas: SCCM client installation, client push methods, okay, troubleshooting. Okay, so in interview they will ask you a question: how many ways you can install SCCM client? There is some other ways also. So you can say manual installation, client push installation, okay, then group policy installation, log on script, imaging, and software update point. Okay, these are some of the common ways where we can install a software. Is it clear? If somebody asks you which method which you are using in your company, means most of the companies 80% they will use client push method for the SCCM client installation. Is it clear? 80% of the companies, like 100 to 90% of companies, they use only this one. Okay, client push method. Very rare companies will go with the group policy. Like out of 10, 20, 30, 100 companies, only 1 or 2% of companies will go. So that is not mandatory to learn. Okay, you simply say we are not using it. Other things also, this also log on script also, very rare companies will use this scripts. 2%. So you don't need to concentrate. Imaging, every company will do the imaging, because while doing installation of OS only, it will install the client. Is it clear? You no need to learn. By default, it will come as part of the image installation itself. Each and everyone must use this, okay? But we won't check this one because it's part of the OS itself. So if somebody asks you, you need to say 90% we use client push method. If something goes wrong, like we use manual installation, this also will use by most of the companies, because that is a manual way to install the client. Is it clear? You need to say we use client push installation initially. If any issues, using a batch script or a PowerShell script, batch or PowerShell script, you can install a client remotely. Okay, using a batch or PowerShell script, we can install a client. These two concepts are very, very important. Okay, where we need to learn and troubleshoot the things. Clear? That is very important. Is it clear what I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
So 90%, 2%, that's not required to say in the interviews. You need to say only manual installation, client push installation, group policy, logon script. Okay. If somebody asks you which method of installation you use, you need to say, it's confusing here. So we'll remove. So you need to say manual installation and client push installation. So we'll put one question over here. So question, which installation you will use in your company? You can use mostly. We use client push method. Okay, and if there are any issues, we will use the manual installation from PowerShell script, batch script, or batch script from PSEXEC tool. Okay, so the pronunciation you need to do, that's not important, but if you're not pronouncing, you can simply say PowerShell script. It's a PSEXE, means PowerShell, PS execution tool. EXEC is nothing but execution. The pronunciation is very important. PSEXEC, or simply you can spell a line letter by letter. Okay, not pronounce it wrongly. Okay, so let me put it in one line. Client push method. Mostly we use a client push method for installation of a SCCM client, you can say. And if there are any issues, sometimes client push will not work. Okay, at that time, what you will do? If there is any issues, we will use manual installation from a batch script, or you can simply say from a batch script. No need to tell that to the interviewer. It's like what are the things. If somebody asks, then you can say we use a PSC tool. The batch script is fine. Clear? Is it clear what I'm saying to you?
Yeah,
So
okay.
server side logs. Okay, where we have one log for you cannot pronounce it like server side and client side. If somebody asks you, you can say mostly client side logs. If they specifically ask for the server side log, you can say server side log. Is it clear? Do not say whenever you take some ask you SCM client side log, server side CCM and client side and all. But you simply say we need to check location is also very important. Client side only one client side you will find only under C Windows CCM setup location where you will find CCM setup and client.msi. Own yeah, any client you will see the software under when CCM C Windows CCM setup folder. Under that logs, under that you will find these two logs which are very important for the client installation. Is it clear what I'm saying to you? On the server side, you will see ccm.log. The client side location would be C Windows CCM setup.log. How to identify server side log? You don't know the location. Simply type open CMD and type netshare command. So you will find the location of where you will, when you type a net share, you will find like what is the shares which are available, so that you can see what is the drive where SCCM is installed. Okay, then you can go to the particular it will give you the path also. Okay, then you can easily understand which location your server side logs are residing in. Okay, you can open a command prompt and type net share, so you will come to know. These are the important things. If we talk about so client installation is very important. For example, if you have like 10,000 machines or 2,000 machines, some companies know for 50 machines also they will use SCCM. For 1,000 machines they will use SCCM. 2,000 machines they will use SCCM. Separate customers. Okay. Some has 30,000, some has 5,000, some has 3,000, some has 1 lakh, 2 lakhs, 1 lakh 50,000. Each and every customer it depends upon, it will change, but 50 customers, 500 customers also they will install SCCM and they will use it. Okay, so if we have an SCCM server over here, okay, if you want to communicate, yeah, this client one, client two, there is some clients, client one to client 1,000, client 3,000, any clients it may have, but by direct what happened, it will connect via LAN, right? Maybe it's in a different offices, it will connect a wide network to, maybe internally there has some switch which it has. Switch is nothing but where your LAN card will be connected to the, initially it will connect to the LAN card. Okay, each and every location will have a switch, so your local LAN connection will be connected to switch. From switch, it goes to a router. The connection goes to a router. Okay. If you are in a different building, I'm saying, if you are in a different office, okay, maybe this is in Hyderabad, this is in Bangalore office, if you think, okay, or Pune office. So they connected here also. They have the same router concept, switch concept will be there here also. Router and switch, one router. Then internally they have some switches. So whenever, okay, so in the same way it can have it. What I am saying is, when you are taking an internet connection from a public provider, okay, if you take about this is internet from micro from some vendor like BSNL, they will connect their line to the router. Within the router they will then they will give the switch, then internet will come. Here also same way, internet will come, it will go to router, switch, which is connected to SCCM server. Whenever you want to install SCCM client, and between these two routers in company to company, there will be some a dedicated line or a leased line or any line, it will happen. So based upon this communication via internet or a direct landline, or they will put some different ways of lining, okay, leased line they will make it, or they can tunnel using a VPN tunnel. The communication will be established between these two routers. So you can communicate from this PC to this PC when if you are in a different location or different cities or different countries. Is it clear what I'm saying to you?
Yes, sir.
So
Yeah,
whenever you are in a different locations, okay, because you it may be in US, it may be in India, your servers must be locating in US or somewhere, okay. So here in the companies, what they will do, they will have an internet connection, right? They have some internet connection. We'll take this one only. So internet connection will be connected to a router, then it is connected to a switches, okay. So companies will have more switches because one switch can contains only 24 port or 48 port. So if it's connected to a router, then it is connected to a switch. So switches also there will be switch, manageable switch. So switches also two types will be there, manageable and non-manageable. The core switches will be a manageable switch, the sub switches will be a not manageable. Okay, that is and all a different concept. Okay, the network is connected in such a way. This will be taken care by networking team. Then we can call manageable switches as even the distribution switches. The terminology. Okay, this is not important. The knowing it. It is internally connected with each other in an organization. There will be a lot of switches. Why? If you have 10,000 machines, one switch port will have only 48. 48 ports means only 48 machines can connect. One switch port can have only 48, or maybe depends upon the capacity they can purchase 128 or something. Okay, is it clear what I'm saying to you?
Yeah, it's clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay, 1 second. If you type switch in networking, okay, you will find this is the switch. Switch looks like this. Okay, it has some LAN ports, like you're connecting right on your internet. So in the same way they will connect to a LAN. Okay, one switch port contains 120 or something, depends upon the number of ports it allowed. So if you want to manage 10,000 machines, you can divide by 120 or 128. So that many switches are required to connect those machines. Is it clear? One switch cannot survive for all machines. Each and every, so one switch contains, if you're taking like 64 port, only two ports will be gone. Why? Because for this communication to communication, two ports will use, because no, here to here you need to use one port dedicatedly. Am I right? So two ports are reserved. So in that only 60 ports can be used for systems. Okay, so one switch 60 machines. If you have 10,000 machines in company, so 10,000 divided by, you can put 60. Maybe they are taking 120 port. You need to have 166 switches to connect your machines in your network. Okay, then from here they will create one access switch or some other switch. Okay, for servers they will use the distribution switch only. Then they will keep a connection. Okay, then here also in India they will have same way, router switch. It's a common. Is it clear what I'm saying to you?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay, so here also same, the internet will come, it will go to the router, it will go to the switch. Okay, there is a connection to switch will be there. From here distribution switch, they will use only access switch for the client machines, because no, they don't want to manage the things, because no, distribution switches are very costly. Okay, the port level blocking will be there for the distribution switches, so they use an access switch. This terminology you not required or by heart. This is only like how networking team will do their things. CCNA guys will do the establishment between the network connection between all the computers. So in your laptop, if you have wired or Wi-Fi, okay, what happened in a Wi-Fi? For this switch, they will connect to a Wi-Fi router, so that in your company you can use a Wi-Fi rather than keeping a LAN cable. You can use a Wi-Fi connection. Either you can use a Wi-Fi or LAN. Using it, you will connect to your PCs within your organization. Computer one, computer two. So if you want to install a client in your organization in India or something, okay, first you will have a local distribution point in your within India branch somewhere. Okay, it's a DP server. So if you want to install a client from SCCM, This client one has to go via this access switch, distribution switch, then the router, then comes here, then again go to this router, manageable switch here, and then it has to talk with SCCM and come back in the same loop, and it will get the responses. Is it clear? It's not like beside in your laptop, it will be a side by side, but in companies, it will be in different locations and different sites. In between, there will be a lot of routers and switches and networking devices will be in. Am I clear what I'm saying to you? Or lost? So this is the way network architecture will be there, at least in minimum, and it will have very complex network architecture. But in companies, you will find this way of the things. You need to, if you want to install a SCCM client, you need to cross this much boundaries, means this much switches, networking devices, and you need to reach the SCCM server. Then if you have any hurdles in them, you need to contact network team, and you have like also router will also act like a firewall. Okay, router will act also like firewall. So if any issues, you need to contact networking team or firewall team to check that particular issue, contact them, and then you need to start resolving the issues. It's not like simply it will any issues will not resolve. If you uninstall client, reinstall client, it will not fix the issue. You may need to contact, initially the company has to establish the communication between the SCCM and client one. Then only, if anything, if you want to work out, it will work out. If not, you will face a lot of hurdles in it, things. Is it clear? By default, it will be there already when you're working. If it's a new company and all, they're like, what are the architects are there, they make sure the proper ports are open. For example, you you have your your home. If you want to go without any keys, okay, you can enter into your home. Don't say I will break it with the two pieces and I will go. Okay, is it by default, is it possible without keys you're entering into your home?
No, sir.
Okay, so forget about thieves, they will go without keys also. Is it clear? So firewall is important, like it's a door in an organization. Okay, if you want to speak from SCCM to client one, you need to pass via firewall. Means it's your security bowl of your home, like a door. Okay, if you want to communicate from here to here, you need to have keys in a normal terminology. But in networking terminology, you need to have the port communication. Means you need to check, here there will be a port called 80, and here in the port called 80, it must be communicate, must be in open. Okay, ports are very very important for a communication. By default communication will happen using a port 480 and 443, which is nothing but port 80 is a HTTP protocol. Okay, and port 443 is a HTTPS protocol. But you need to make sure these two ports are opened between these two machines. Okay, if you are able to communicate with this port communication and ping communication, then there is no issues. If there are any issues with the port, you need to raise a request to firewall team, network team. You need to ask, could you please allow, okay, port 80 and 443. You cannot give your home keys to your unknown neighbors. You can give it to your maybe your family members or your relatives. Do not give your home keys to anyone, right? whom you want. It has to be a known person. Am I right or wrong?
Yes, sir.
In the same way, in companies, they will allow the port communication between the devices. By default, port 80 and 443 is opened. But if, because no, that is a universal port. Okay. By default, in any company, these two ports are opened. Due to that only, it will communicate. Okay. So
Oh,
we can test using some commands like whether the port is opened or blocked. Okay. There are some other ports, 135 also need to be opened between the client, then only it will work. So if the ports are open, then the communication will work. Then if you install any client or software, it will work. If you close the doors in between, then if you want to install, it may not work. Okay. It will return a failure. Is it clear?
okay, sir.
So ports are very, very important. Even the interview question, they will ask you what are the ports which are required for a client to the server. Can go and search with the SCCM ports. There will be some standard ports will be available. Okay. So ports used for connection. SCCM firewall ports download. Anup Nair also very good blog where you can read it. Okay. So RPC port. You see the network architecture. There are a lot of ports are there, but the server SCCM 135 console to site server. So they are talking from the client to SMP, client to management points. So we need to client to site system. Ports used by client system. See here, by default HTTP is there. This is not our requirement. Client to client means one machine to other machine. Client to server will be there. Client to cloud distribution. Client means our end user laptop to distribution point. See 8443. By default, it has to be done 8005 for express update. Client to multi-classing. This is not required. Client to distribution point for OSD when it required. Client to fallback 80 only. Mostly 8443 will be there. Client to Active Directory server. For client machine to Active Directory, it has to be open this one. These will be taken care by firewall and network team. Okay. Client to management point server. These ports 8443. By default 8440 is there. Client to software update point. These two other ports. Client to state. These are ports are very important. Okay. Most of the things, if you see only 8443, one or other port will be added. For remote control, you need to have this 2701 338. Configure 135. If you want to open SCCM console from a server, it requires a RPC port. So by default, what you can say is 8443 would be fine. The two ports for them, the client to server. If they ask, that is fine over the things. The ports would be 8443 can say. So installation logs and pre-checks before installing client for first time. What you need to have? You need to have one